Former President Donald Trump wants you to be willing to lay down your lives to fight against the scourge of critical race theory.
Anything. Getting critical race theory out of our schools is not just a matter of values, it's also a matter of national survival. We have no choice. The fate of any nation ultimately depends upon the willingness of its citizens to lay down, and they must do this, lay down their very lives to defend their country. If we allow the Marxists and communists and socialists to teach our children to hate America, there will be no one left to defend our flag or to protect our great country or its freedom.
Okay, interesting words from somebody who had the chance to actually go and fight against real communists, by the way, and real Marxists over in Vietnam. Decided not to do so. Oh no, you see, trying to avoid VD in college, that was my Vietnam, that was my personal Vietnam. Oh, okay, Bone Spurs, Draft Dodger, talking about how you need to lay down your life to fight against the quote-unquote Marxists and communists, which, again, ridiculous, right? That are pushing critical race theory. No, don't get me wrong, there is a relationship here between, I guess, Marxism and critical race theory. But what that is that it's a study of racist systems of oppression that have been basically codified in our system being used against black people even today. And so, in fact, that's the study. But, all right. Now, look, another thing, obviously, critical race theory isn't even in K through 12. It's not. You know what? It should be. I think it should be. I think we need a little bit more Marxism in our schools. God damn it. We do. Right now, it is a select high level college course. And you know what? Republicans should be in favor of teaching things. Oh, I know, right? Why? I mean, look, Republicans, what's wrong with it? I mean, why don't you teach a controversy? Oh, right. That only applies to when you want to teach the Bible in school in place of facts and information. I got no problem with you doing a comparative religion course. Yeah, sure. Bring in Christianity. Bring in Islam. Oh, no, my head's just exploded, right? Bring in all the different religions, do comparative religion course, and then actually study it. Oh, but you don't want to do that either. You don't want to bring in competing ideas because you think that your ideas are so incredibly weak and sad, regardless of whether they actually are or not. You're afraid that your ideas suck and that other ideas that are actually better. Oh, see, that's what it's all about. And that's teach a controversy, except we're not actually teaching controversy. We actually just want to replace and supplant actual facts and information with our own ideology, and then bubble everyone else from any other ideas or perspectives. That's what it is. I mean, when it comes to reality, according to Republicans, that does not belong in our schools, but fantasy does. Fantasy. And this entire conversation around critical race theory and the fighting against it by the right wing, it just shows how censorship happy the right is. Oh, you know, we must protect the children. We must protect the children. We must censor things. We must take all the books out of the classroom. We must stop teaching something in K through 12 that was never actually taught in K through 12. We have to get rid of it. We have to get rid of all of it. We have to get rid of, and by the way, this is now, critical race theory is basically a stand-in, a buzzword that they apply to just African-American history. It is a catch-all phrase for teaching anything related to African-American history, including slavery, mainly slavery, Jim Crow, and any of those laws that were used to keep down African-Americans and other minorities in this country. So, but isn't it funny though, by the way, that the same people not too long ago were calling children who got, participation trophies that the parents of that generation had given them, that they actually didn't really care for, didn't want, whatever. Well, no, they're the snowflakes. See, we give them the snowflake. We give these things to the kids and we make them into snowflakes. But at the same time, now for kids, they want to completely bubble them off from actual information and anything that might make them, quote unquote, feel guilty. That's all these different bills too. By the way, they're being passed in different states, like Florida, for example. Oh, we don't want to expose children to anything in the classroom that might make them feel guilty because of their race. Snowflake. You basically want to create an army of snowflake children who don't actually know the real history of the United States. I mean, what is it? Do you want to own the libs? Do you want to own the snowflakes or not? Do you want kids to actually understand things? Or do you want, again, people who don't understand anything? No, we already know the answer, which is why they wanted to hide. We know that they want to hide racial relations in this country. We know the reason. It's because it makes the right-wingers feel bad. Not because they don't actually like what happened. No, all the people wanting to ban actual history love how this country has a history of discrimination against minorities. The thing is, now they can't be open about it because the culture has changed and now they're getting called out for it. They know these positions are indefensible and they just want to bury it instead. Never happened. Oh, what do you mean? We're not a racist country. Racism never happened. We don't have racist institutions. Actually, we do have racist institutions, like our carceral system, for example. But understand that people have made money from that system. And people now, these days, run political campaigns on being, for example, tough on crime. Now, that essentially means over-criminalizing people of color in the inner cities. Now, the right-wing message here is, oh, see, the libs just think that America and all Americans are, well, they're racist. No, that's actually not our message. I disagree with that. I think the vast majority of Americans are not racist at all. I think a lot of people just don't really know in their daily lives what is going on, what people of color actually face in this country, or at least they didn't for a long time. Now we have cell phone videos, of course, black people being harassed by police, arrested, shot, unarmed, as well as, the day-to-day racist attacks that many do happen to face by some very sad and pathetic people. That's why those videos are so important. That's why teaching history is so important. Because none of this happened or was created in a vacuum. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to Trump is a vacuum. Not just for the fact that he just in general sucks, but he also sucks up all the air in the room with his racist antics. And it makes certain people feel okay with the racism that they have been feeling in themselves. They have these racist feelings. And then others, it misleads them into believing that black people are just making it all up. Boy, I don't see any racism in my everyday life. So I don't know what they're crying about. They think that every black person is a Jussie Smollett. And that, no, the real oppression is dealing with white people. White people are the real oppressed minority. No. And let me just say, right, just because you're white doesn't mean you haven't had ever had any problems, haven't ever had to deal with anything. Being poor in this country, doesn't matter what color you are, being poor sucks. Regardless of the color of your skin. But understand that there are people in this country who are both poor and then also have to deal with the legacy of racism. And by the way, it goes the other way too. Rich black men in this country also get targeted for the color of their skin. I mean, just the other day, Ryan Coogler, he's a very famous director, the Black Panther series or the Black Panther movie. Very, very successful, very well accomplished, wealthy. But getting arrested because they thought he was a bank robber. It happens to wealthy black people too. It's not just tied to socioeconomics, it's also race. Yes, race plays a big part of this as well. And so that said, people in this country who are both poor and happen to be a minority, well, they get the worst of the worst. And it needs to end. I don't think anybody should be put above any other person. I think we should all get equal treatment under the law, of course. I mean, that should be the very core of what America means. Should all be given the same opportunities, regardless of our name, gender, race, orientation, all those things. All those things. But as far as race goes, I mean, understand that it's a human invention. We pretty much made it up. And it was made up generally to other people so it could help the capitalist overlords justify enslaving other human beings in order to increase their profit margins. We know this. Labor, by the way, is the biggest cost of any business. And every business is going to find a way to cut costs. And it just so happens that enslaving other people used to be one of those very acceptable ways, and it actually kind of is still. Except now it's being used in the prison system. That turns criminals into a free workforce for the state and additional profits for private prison corporations. Yeah. All of that historical context really does matter. That's why critical race theory is important. And that's, by the way, why the right wing wants to stop not just critical race theory, but also anything that they deem to be harmful to their own narrative. Which just, is African American history. Now, these comments have worried a lot of people. Here's Indivisible Sarah Dole saying this. Calling for political violence to stop the teaching of accurate history in our schools is what fascism looks like. True. Condé Nast Legal Affairs editor Luke Zaleski says, Trump doesn't want a political party, he wants an army. He's a TV terrorist. Yes, but he's also a real fascist. Attacking the Capitol, waiting, calling it off, then telling them he loved them after they after they terrorized the country and got his message across was kind of a hint, folks. Trump is a traitor and a political mob boss. Another civil rights lawyer, Subodh Chandra, described Trump's remarks as a call to violent race war, which is something, of course, the right wing has been advocating for some time, over nothing but the teaching of our actual history. Donald Trump, said Moms Demand Action founder Shannon Watts, said, who seems to be in the running for 2024, tells a nation of Washington guns to kill or be killed in order to stop anyone from hating our country. Which again, wanting to make this country better, it's not a sign of hating your country. It actually means you love your country and you want to make it better for everybody. You want everyone to have the full American experience of actually being the country that they describe, that right-wingers actually describe the country as, which we're far from it. No, not everyone is free. You can only look at the rash of anti-education bills, banning books, burning books, banning people from getting abortions. I mean, all of these are happening in Republican states. Freedom. You want to talk about freedom? No, we don't have freedom. And we also really do not have economic freedom or justice with the amount of poor people in this country. The amount of money that gets taken from the poor and the middle class and redistributed up to the rich, which basically is the whole purpose of the Republican Party at this point. That's all they do, is transfer wealth from the rest of us upwards. No, there's more. Vanity Fair contributing editor Jeff Charlet says, quote, scenes from a slow civil war. Georgetown University McCourt School of Public Policy professor Don Moynihan said this, what does this mean? If you're a teacher in a state, you probably feel less and less safe by the extremist nature of this rhetoric. And then finally, Salon's Bob Cheska adds, encouraging his fanboys to commit political violence again. Why is he still at large? Because look, rich people or alleged rich people, powerful people, never get held accountable. The biggest crime here that a rich person could commit is robbing other rich people. And until Trump has been proven to have done that and loses his backing among the major party in America, or at least the other major party in America, the Republican Party, no one's ever going to touch him. And that's sad and unfortunate when it comes to our democracy, or what we have left of it. And with him, well, I think he's going to try to make sure that whatever's left is gone.